Alright, what's going on, guys? So it is the next day after the last video of me showing you a little bit of a walk around on the Jeep. Actually, I just noticed this thing is freaking leaking, so we put a nice little absorbent mat underneath it so it doesn't destroy my concrete. Alright, so we talked about that we had to pull these cylinder heads off of the thing, and honestly I'm kind of glad I started working on it because I am finding a couple little things that were broken. There's, you know, the bracket to the AC pump is broken, so I'll probably source one of those, just because I don't want to have any belt issues later on down the road. And I already got the motor about 45% disassembled. I still haven't gotten to the cylinder heads yet. I just got the manifold off, so really wanted to show you this. So if you ever wonder how far manifold design has come, here's a pretty good representation of that. Get rid of that guy, move him somewhere up out the way. But alrighty, so here we have my Coyote intake manifold, and here's the one for the AMC 360 that's in my Jeep. So this has, here's a Howes throttle body injection system, so it's literally just an 88 to 92, you know, late 80s, early 90s Chevy. I think it's like what, twin bore or dual bore throttle body or injection system. It's not a whole lot of tuning ability. I already talked to my tuner about it, seeing if we can, you know, do anything to kind of like make it more reliable and just more efficient, and there's not a whole lot. So if I ever do end up keeping this thing for a long time, then I will look into going Holley, just something that's a little bit more efficient, and maybe in a freaking aluminum intake manifold, because this thing is heavy. So this is cast iron intake manifold versus plastic. I do have it flipped, so that's the front, you know, versus the front, and of course air comes in through here, through these little throttle body ports. So there you see the blades. That's where the air comes in, and then it gets distributed to all the cylinders. And you can just see how after a while this can easily get heat soaked and just not be as efficient as something that's made out of plastic and completely separated from the coolant, because here you see coolant neck and coolant neck. So there is coolant running through this. So you can just wonder why old vehicles got shit gas mileage compared to new vehicles. But alright, so moving on to the motor. Yeah, so this is kind of what you get with old motors. You never know who worked on them and just how many tubes of silicone they used. Like this port, I took a huge glob out of it. It was pretty much like halfway blocked with just silicone, so God knows what I'm gonna find in the intake runners once I get the cylinder heads off. But they don't look too bad. In the intake runners, it looks decently clean, not horrible. These things are gonna be heavy as fuck all, so I can't remember what the weight of these are, but I think they're roughly like 80 pounds a piece if I'm comparing them anywhere near with like my old Fox body heads. But yeah, here you see like a little bit of a splash guard slash intake manifold gasket, just an old school design. So pretty much underneath, not only do you have coolant running through the intake manifold, you also just have hot oil just underneath it. So if that gasket fails whatsoever, then all that oil that's underneath it is just going to splash up and go straight into the intake manifold. That's why it was one of my theories of why the Jeep just smoked like crazy, which it could have also had that issue. I think I may have also had a small leak over here in the back of the China wall, what my friend calls it. Pretty much it's just a giant glob of silicone that goes from side to side to really seal the back of the intake manifold. So yeah, not too bad, not too bad. And I mean, you gotta appreciate just how simple these motors are to really take apart. Not a whole lot really to it. Just remove the bolts. I've been working out here for maybe an hour. Already have it down almost to the cylinder heads. I'm doing my best to not have to remove this guy because I hate fucking with timing. So if I can just leave this alone, put everything back together how it was prior, then in theory it should work just fine. So next to come off, of course, I gotta unbolt the power steering, set it off to the side where it's not gonna get in the way, and then I want to be brave and try and take off the cylinder head with the cast iron manifolds together, maybe because I don't want to snap one of those bolts while it's still inside the Jeep. I'd rather do it while it's outside. So it looks like I just unbolted from the collector down there, and definitely gonna probably have to call someone to help me carry those out, or maybe get a cherry picker for it. But once we lift this head, we will see what the damage is on that number 5 cylinder. And then once we lift that cylinder head, we will see why the number 4 and the number 6 spark plug, why they had a little bit of oil. And damn, dude, you could just look at that. How do you expect the car to stay cool when half of the coolant port is just fucking silicone? See? So never know what you're gonna find once you really start digging into these. So mainly hopefully we can get this Jeep running, get it all sealed up properly, and hopefully it'll actually run cooler and better than it did before it had the valve failure. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead, pull these cylinder heads, and then hopefully the next shot I have is you guys get to see how the short block looks. Alrighty, so we got all the rockers and push rods out. I did my best to put them in the exact order that they all came out. That way I know exactly, like, this is the top, this is the bottom where this rides on the lifter. That way every single lifter, every single push rod, every single rocker will go back in the exact same spot. Now, why would I want to do that? Mainly because a lot of these items like to wear in, and it's not something that you want to mix match afterwards. So especially with lifters on cam lobes, I'm not too sure about the push rods if it's that big of a deal, but if everything goes back exactly the way it came off, then it should eliminate the possibility of anything else to go wrong. So a little bit of I guess bad news is that we do have to take off the exhaust manifolds. Now why? Mainly because there is a head bolt right there, so directly underneath the manifold. There's no way I can get to it unless I take these guys off. Now it is going to be a little bit of a pain to get those back 2 bolts, and I do run the risk of having an issue breaking or rounding out those bolts, just because they're exhaust manifold bolts. That's what they're known to do. But if this Jeep really did have any kind of work done to it in any time, like within the last year or so, like the previous owner said it did, then I may get lucky and those bolts shouldn't be as seized as they probably were the first time, or as seized as if they were on there, 20 plus years. So there you can also see I left the gasket in there mainly just to trap, like, in case if I drop a bolt or anything, it doesn't go inside the motor, which it did kind of save my ass on one of the valve cover bolts. So I'm actually really glad I left that on there. Once I get all the head bolts loosened up and I'm ready to pull the cylinder heads, that's when I will go ahead and pull that gasket out. So until then, I'm leaving that guy in there as a little bit of a safety precaution, or as a little bit extra insurance, just so I don't track any extra dirt in there or drop anything metallic in there either. So next step, of course, is time to start getting all these exhaust manifold bolts out. Then it'll be the cylinder heads, and then we will have to figure out a way to keep this engine as oiled as possible and covered up from any kind of elements. I know the hood is going to help a lot, but I will lube it up, maybe even grease it just to keep the mating surface from acquiring any rust. Once we pull the cylinder head off, we will also be able to see it at the condition of the short block. I am kind of gambling here and hoping that it will come out good. You know, I'm kind of betting a little bit that it is going to come out in decent condition where it's might not need a rebuild. Again, I only have one cylinder that is low in compression. The rest of them are pretty decent for its age. I mean, this motor is probably like 7.5 compression, so it's not gonna have the best compression, you know, compared to say this guy over here. That's almost 13-to-1 compression. So I'm gonna keep going with it. I'm gonna try and get those exhaust manifold bolts out, and just wish me luck. So hopefully we'll be able to take a peek at those pistons here shortly. All right, now a quick little update. Found myself a rounded bolt, and probably the worst bolt that could possibly be rounded too. So this is something that I'm happily to say that was not done by me, because you can tell it's not shiny yet. It's still covered in oil. There you can see when it is me, it at least has the shiny parts of the socket. Yeah, so I have all the head bolts off of that side and pretty much every single one other than that one ready to come off, so I can actually pull the cylinder heads. Everything is off, everything is ready except that guy. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way I can clean it and weld a nut to it, and hope it's strong enough to combat the 140 foot-pounds of torque that is going through that bolt. If not, I will have to figure out a way to either cut it. I don't know. It looks like I have a little bit of decent room in there to get like an angle grinder in there. Again, that's not something I would like to do, but it may have to be the option. So I'm gonna go ahead, bust the welder out, get to cleaning that bolt, and see if I can get it out with by welding a nut to it. Actually, never mind. So after cleaning it up, cleaning all that gunk off, I was actually able to use a 3/8 drive, 5-point socket. Really just had to put all the force I could to really get to the bottom, because it looks like we still have some nice sharp edges at the bottom. The top is definitely rounded. Actually, here, let's go ahead and take it all out so we can see it. Come on, focus. All right, there you go. Ooh, ain't she a beaut. So I was already starting to wire wheel it, and you can see just where they rounded it off, getting it ready to weld. But it looked like I had a couple of good sizes on it, and I really had to hold. Luckily, I have this impact that's strong enough to pull this head bolt out, because I really had to put as much force as I could so it would really lock into that very small thin spot at the bottom that's still somewhat squared off. So got lucky there. All right, let's pull these heads off. And success. So this is the number 5 cylinder, the one that we were low compression on. Again, nothing is really popping out to me right now, I'll be honest. Maybe this valve is sticking up a little bit more. By the looks of it, kind of looking through the phone, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of a gap there compared to all of these that are a little bit better sealed. You can really tell that these heads did not, if they were worked on, they didn't clean them the best, because there's still a lot of carbon buildup on them. Can't really tell anymore, but so this was our bad valve right here. So it means it is our exhaust valve that was bad, or intake valve. Yeah, that would be intake. My apologies. This is the intake side, this is the exhaust side, so this is an intake valve. And dropping my phone. Fuck it, we're doing it live. Yeah, I don't understand where it would be losing all that compression on that valve. Other than this one, maybe. But on another news, also did find out why this lifter was loose. So we did have a bad lifter. So I don't know if you can see it that well on the camera, but these are flat tappet lifters. So it is supposed to be completely flat, and this is actually turned into a mini little bird bath. So that is concaved. So see there, you can kind of see it right there. But the cam ate this guy up. Don't know why. Could have been the lash was done improperly, the push rod bent. Who knows? But our cylinder doesn't look too bad. You can still see the cross hatching right there. Not a whole lot of carbon buildup on that guy. These guys, so these two were our two oil burners. There you can see they have massive amounts of carbon buildup from burning oil. But overall, nothing sticks out to me like crazy amounts. It looks like I did have a nasty oil leak back there because you can see how the exhaust manifold is just caked in it. Also sucks because the sensor is also on this side, so all that oil burning is just gunking up that sensor and probably would cause this to run like crap. Let's see those two cylinders on the cylinder head side. So there you go. There you can just see all how wet they are. This one's a little bit drier, but this one is just super wet from all that oil, all that gunk that was just being burned. There, that cylinder looked like it was burning properly. This one as well looked like maybe just a little bit of carbon buildup there, but overall, I mean, what do you expect? This is a 30-something-year-old, almost 40-year-old motor, so not too bad, not too bad. All right, well, we found our guy. This is bad. I'm gonna talk to my engine builder, show him a couple pictures, maybe have him stop by. See what he thinks of the motor. If he does recommend pulling it, then looks like we're gonna have to pull this motor. It'll be a lot easier because it'll be a lot smaller, so we will be able to hook up a chain a lot closer to the block and pull it out out of here. I would love to take it out, but I just don't have a cherry picker, so we'll see how it goes. You know, we'll see what the analysis comes back from the cylinder heads, see if the cylinder head was our smoking gun for our low compression, which honestly that would be my guess. The cylinder just doesn't look out of the norm, especially with all the cross hatching still there. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys for today. This was a huge pain in the ass. Almost figuratively, I did rip my pants as well, but I also did make a huge mess in my driveway. So that's gonna be fun to clean up. I mean, it looked like the little mat I put down did catch a lot of the water, but I didn't have it far in enough, so a lot of it still escaped. Oh well. So I got a whole lot of cleaning up to do ahead of me now, so I gotta oil down those cylinders so no rust gets on there. I gotta cover them up. I really gotta like do my best to seal that motor right now, because every single minute that you leave like a machine surface open out to the elements, it, you know, oxygen and humidity is just wreaking havoc on it. So that's all I got for you guys. So catch you guys later. Peace out.